In the Russo-Ukraine War, both sides have been fighting to try and find a competitive edge above the other. Someone builds an edge, the other side copies it, then it breaks, and the first side breaks the fix, on a clock measured in days, turning the battlefield into the fastest weapons lab in history. And most of what came out of this war, no army on Earth has a real answer for. This is the tech, what it does, why it exists, and where it's already dragging every war after this one, FPV and the jamming war. Let's start with a weapon that defines the war, the FPV drone. Strip it down and it's a racing quadcopter with a warhead on the nose and a camera behind it. A pilot flies it, first person, straight into the target. It costs a few $100s and you're able to build it on a folding table, to then destroy armor worth millions. They come in many shapes and forms, and the evolution of the different types is a video of itself. But here's a quick overview. Some are small, 7 to 10 inches, for infantry and light vehicles. Then you have heavy multi-rotor bombers, the ones Ukraine nicknamed Baba Yaga. They work both day and night and drop munitions from above. Then there's the loitering types, like the Russian Lancet. They fly out in circles and wait for a target to appear. By 2024, both sides were making these by the million, and that surfaced a real problem, the signal. Every FPV is flown over a radio link. Kill the link and the drone drops out of the sky. So both sides flooded the front with electronic warfare, jammers that could drown their control channel in the video feed, and for a while it worked. But then someone decided to run a hair-thin fiber optic cable out the back of the drone. No radio needed, nothing to jam. A glass thread unspools behind it as it flies, carrying the picture and the controls all the way to impact. At the start, it had a range of 10 kilometers, then 20, now it's past 50, on a single spool. Russia fielded it first at scale in the summer of 2024. Ukrainian commanders admit it caught them flat, and they spent the better part of a year copying it. It redrew the map of where you're safe. A radio drone can't chase you into a forest or down into a cellar. The signal dies in the trees. A fiber drone doesn't care. It'll fly down a tree line, into a building, through a doorway, and it'll never lose the image. But it has real costs. The cable can snag or be cut, and it adds weight, so the drone carries less of a payload. And it's a single-use tool. But in a place that's drowning and jamming, an unjammable drone is worth every one of those problems. Then both sides realize, to kill drones you can't jam, you need to build interceptor drones. Drones that hunt other drones and ram them out of the air for a couple $1,000s a kill. Then, with the rapid advancement of AI, they move the intelligence onto the drone itself. A small camera and an AI chip that locks onto a target in the last seconds and finishes the run alone, even if the link is severed. The makers claim it doubles or triples the hit rate. Operators say it's real, but fuzzy. It works excellent on a vehicle in the open, but poor on a man crouched in a tree line. Now flip the problem around. If a cheap drone can kill anything that moves, what do you do with a tank? We watched armies solve this in real time. Badly first, but then better. It started with a metal cage, a slab of steel grating welded over the turret roof to catch a drone before it hit the top. It sort of worked, but both sides knew they could make it better. By 2024, entire tanks vanish under improvised metal shells. Turtle tanks. The crew can't rotate the turret and can barely see, so they stop fighting with them. They became instead more of a battering ram. Drive to the line, clear mines, punch a hole, and soak drones so the real assault can move up behind. Then the shells grew spikes. Porcupine tanks, meant to detonate the drone a few feet out before the warhead reaches the hole. The current version looks unhinged. Hedgehog tanks, hung with thousands of thin metal wires, something straight out of Mad Max. Around 3 tons of cable. Every wire is there to snag or trigger a drone at a distance, saving the hole. And it works, sort of. It doesn't stop the drones, it just makes it more costly per vehicle. An unmodified vehicle dies to 1 or 2, compared to the modified models that can eat 6 to over 12. But the bill comes due in other places. All that steel destroys the drivetrain. One Russian crewman said his tank didn't make 10 kilometers before a component failed under the load. You've traded a tank for a slow, half-blind, armored box that buys you a few minutes, and the counter is already fielded. A shaped charge on a fiber drone. It detonates on the spikes, but instead of splashing, it fires a molten slug straight through the wires and into the hole. As you can see, this war is pushing military tech to a place it's never been before. Then there's the sea. One side barely has a navy, but it was able to push the Russian fleet out of the western Black Sea anyway, using boats with nobody aboard. The naval drone. It's a jet ski-sized hole stuffed with explosives, watched through a camera that's driven by a remote hundreds of miles away. Ukraine's Magura is the famous one. It's low in the water, hard to spot, fast, and cheap enough to throw out a warship. In early 2024, one of these became the first sea drone in history to sink a warship, and it continued to work. By most counts, a quarter to a third of the fleet ended up hit or sunk, by machines costing a few $100,000 each, against a ship worth hundreds of millions. And they continued to improve on the designs and forms. Just like a technical, they bolted air-to-air missiles onto the boats. At the end of 2024, a naval drone shot down a helicopter. Another design I call the mothership. They open hatches at sea and launch their own FPV drones. And in late 2025, an underwater version put a hole in a submarine tied up in a port. Pull back from the front and there's a second war, fought at range, against the cities and the factories. The signature weapon for long drone strikes is the Shahed. Designed in Iran, now built inside Russia by the tens of thousands, known as the Garand drone, a medium-sized delta-wing aircraft, with a motor, a warhead, and a few hundred miles of range. On its own, it's already deadly. One of these can cost maybe $20,000 to $50,000. The interceptor missile you stop it with costs $1 million or more. So you don't send one, you send hundreds to up to thousands, in a few days, mixed with decoys, cheap foam, and plywood copies with no warhead. They're only there to soak up interceptors and clutter the radar. The Russian ones are called Gebera drones, roughly $10,000 each. The defender has to answer to every attack, because they can't tell the real ones from the fake ones, and every answer burns money they can't replace. That's the real weapon, the exchange rate. You can win an air campaign by going broke slower than the other guy. And these drones have also evolved, throwing on jet engines on newer models to fly faster and higher, better antennas to shrug off jamming, and like stated previously, a camera and an AI chip. So a $20,000 drone can find and pick its own target in the final approach, a cheap machine doing the job of a cruise missile. Speaking of missiles, Ukraine also created their own, the Flamingo. Ukraine claims it has a range of 3,000 kilometers and a warhead over a ton, but it's still new and it's rough. Independent analysts tracked the strikes and found most either missed the exact aim point or were shot down. At the top end of missiles sits Russia's Rassvet system, a new intermediate range missile at the edge of hypersonic speed, carrying multiple warheads. A lot of this tech can't work without one thing, the connection. This entire war runs on satellite internet. Commercial Starlink dishes, the same ones people put on a roof, strapped to the front to move drone feeds and orders in real time, live from anywhere, which means it runs on a private network owned by somebody else, Elon Musk. In early 2026, that network was switched off across Russian-held ground. Units that leaned on it went dark, so Russia decided to launch its own version, Rassvet. While the tech is not the same, Russia is accelerating its launches, and both sides are also trying to get to the next step after that, flying the drones through the satellites directly, so there's no ground signal left to jam. So that's where this war and future wars are generally heading, a war where software finds you faster than any human ever could, and the cheapest machine finishes the job. And the machines are climbing out of the air. Ground robots now haul ammunition and drag out the wounded. None of this is a secret. It's cheap, it's mostly commercial parts, and it's already out in the open. A small country, or a group that isn't even a country at all, can build most of it today. Thanks for watching, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.